pursuing with suing you? Did she ever get to that level, or did she just let it go?
No, actually, what happened is after the Queen was made, Crystal and I kind of became friends. I had a lot of respect for Crystal. I liked the way that she reacted. I thought it was cool as hell. I was so glad to see anybody had the balls to, just be true to themselves. That was a big step in the right direction. And Crystal took me around New York. I was a hick from Philly. What the hell I know? She took me around the New York, showed me the ball scene and stuff like that. And nobody could have been better than Crystal to do that because she knew all the ins and outs and stuff. I worshipped her. I thought Crystal was amazing. Okay. Absolutely amazing.
Now, I see you had a lot of well-known people at your pageants. Now,
a lot of what?
You had a lot of well-known people at your pageants, Jack. And we know there's more to you besides, the pageants and everything. You actually have a career and you've done things. Tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? Tell us a little bit about what your journey was like, beyond, the pageant and in your life.
Well, if I have a dream, it's still the same dream I always had, which is learning stuff. I love learning about stuff, and I'm thick as a brick, so sometimes I'm kind of slow with it, but I love stuff that challenges me and keeps me curious, and like that, and that's really what my life has been about, I don't like inequities, and I don't like when life seems to be, blatantly unfair and whatever. To that extent, I guess there's, some dark political circumstance there. But the curiosity thing, nonetheless, is, really my principal motivator. I love learning about stuff.
I'd actually like to ask you a question myself, being that you have had some experience with the ballroom scene. Crystal labeija, you said, introduced you some to the community and the culture. And I'm sure you've dealt with your own fair share of shade. Tell me a little bit of your experience around shade and how you've actually dealt with it in and out of the community.
Well, it certainly made it a lot easier to me because, Crystal ruled. And, I was like a fish out of water. I didn't know my way around New York. I certainly didn't know my way around the ball scene. And Crystal knew it like the back of her hand. So wherever we went in, people just flocked to Crystal, and then, I got to know people and stuff like that. She introduced me around. She showed me what was going on, explained to me how the balls worked and stuff like that. And it was fascinating to me. It was something we didn't have in Philadelphia or any place else in America except New York, and it was spectacular. One of the things was, there was so much fear and guilt and negativity about that way of life back in the day, that what was going on in those balls was like, it was such a wonderful high, it's like a little pocket of freedom there, and the girls took advantage of it, honey. They strutted their shit and they owned it, darling, totally owned it.
Yeah.
Right. The contests were absolutely fabulous, no question about it, and as the queens have participated, and I tell you, it was so good for me to see that was possible, because I'd come from a situation where everybody was so frightened and so much guilt and pressure and so on. And those girls, no pun intended, but those girls had the balls on. They stripped their shit and they didn't give a care what anybody thought.
What was the name of the first ball that you went to?
The first ball I went to was Miss Frankie's.
Miss Frankie's, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was Lexington Avenue and 125th Street.
In Harlem.
And that was in late 1967.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And they did work, honey. They did work. Those girls. The costumes and the dancing. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing, spectacular.
A lot of magic in there. But before we talk about magic, what year did Miss Iconic Crystal labeija pass away?
I'm sorry, what?
What year did Crystal labeija pass away? Did you know?
I think Crystal passed away about 20 years ago. I know that when we put the Queen on video, or brought it out again or something, where we had a party and Crystal was there, and that was the last time that I saw her. She died soon after that. But the last time I saw her, all I can tell you, she looked fabulous, absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
And it's a great loss. She was absolutely magical. I worshipped the girl, so she's amazing.
Now you worked behind the scenes in a few films. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, for a number of years, because all of the hypocrisy. I was an expert in homosexuality for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which is about two guys non-competitive for the interest of a girl, that they shouldn't look homosexual, to things that dealt with homosexuality and more overt way, like Myra Breckenridge or whatever. And even though the executive producer of Myra Breckenridge was the biggest queen in Hollywood, nonetheless I was hired to be an expert because nobody was out. Wow. As opposed to I was. And I'm a psychologist, so that was helpful.
So you were helping them.
I mean, clearly every homosexual in the world didn't call me twice a day to tell me anything. I just kept my mouth shut and kept my job.
Interesting. So you were helping them.
You know what I mean?
So you were helping them develop their scripts and everything from the inside, basically.
Not really. I mean, the less I did, the more likely it was they were going to keep my job. I mean, it would be nice to say that I had a lot to do with what was done, but it's just not true. They paid me well to do nothing. Just really keep out of their way.
Basically, okay. So it was more so kind of like so they can say, well, we.
Well, they did what they wanted to do, but what they didn't want to do is be responsible for making judgments about the gay world because they supposedly didn't know anything about it.
So you were like a sounding board. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, makes sense.
Exactly. Wow. I was kind of like a beard.
All right, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's maybe not the most flattering way to present myself, but it is, as I look at it, that's basically that's the reality. Yes, I see it. Absolutely. I mean, on Myra Breckenridge, I remember my agent saying to me after I was there for screen tests, and we tested a bunch of straight actors and some gay queens and whatever, and after they ran them all for the brass from New York, they asked me what I thought, and I told them, I said, I think that the guys that are straight actors are embarrassed about being in drag, and the guys that are drag queens, you're going to have to find somebody that already wants to play Myra Breckenridge because they're playing the girl that they want to be. So they thought, oh, that's great. So then my agent said, well, if you want to keep a job with this movie, which I think I can get you one to stay on the film till they close it, just keep your mouth shut. Always go to the meetings, be the first one there, and find yourself a seat where the light is behind you so the light's in their eyes. They don't, and just stay quiet. You'll keep your job. And she was absolutely right.
Right.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Now, later on, you started working as a consultant. I mean, I'm sorry. You started getting involved in politics.
Yeah, the only time I got involved with politics was behind Hillary Clinton.
Correct.
I was at a club here in New York that was called Mother. It was John Donnell and Titi Valetti had a brilliant club here in the 90s. Legendary, absolutely legendary, so brilliant. Well, anyhow, one night I was there, and there was a couple in from someplace like Detroit or something. He asked me, where there were some topless bars in New York, and they just closed Billy's Topless. And I said, geez, I can't think of anybody. And she said, well, God, in Detroit, we got three of them right in the main drag. And I'm thinking to myself, New York is really fucked up. So Giuliani was running at that point, and Hillary Clinton was just, at the first time in politics, just starting out. And so the next day, I just made my way to Hillary Clinton's office. And after I'd had the opportunity to work with her on, what she was sort of like a learning thing, she went around asking people questions. So she finally decided she was going to run. And when she decided she was going to run, she gave each one of us who had worked during the learning part an opportunity to be able to talk to her on a one-to-one basis. I had talked to Titi Valetti the night before I went to see Hillary, and Titi suggested I ask her about trans issues. So I asked her about children's things. I'm involved with children's programs. I needed transportation. I asked her about that. And I asked her about trans issues. With the trans issues, she said, that's not going to play upstate. With the children's transportation, she said, get me elected, I'll see what I can do. But nonetheless, a week later, I had transportation. I just think that I think she's spectacular. I'm a very big fan of Hillary Clinton as a human being, and the fact that she's working in American politics makes me very happy and very proud to have any association with it.
Thank you.
But in terms of politics in general, I don't know squat about it.
I'd like to actually ask you, since you brought up a couple things here. I mean, 2015 has been very major for the transgender community as a whole in social media and Hollywood and everything. And just, wanted to get your thoughts around what you're seeing out there and what your thoughts are around the visibility or even the challenges that the community still deals with. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that the trans girls have really been on the forefront of change. I mean, more changes have come about with the trans girls than ever happened before so quickly, and it's just amazing. It comes to mind, Zachary Drucker is my daughter. I worship her. It's just amazing. He's a brilliant child. He's one of the producers on Transparent. And Diane Turget, who's the girl who's working with me on the archives and a book about my life and stuff. Absolutely brilliant, gorgeous girls. Both Zachary and Diane. I mean, beautiful, beautiful girls, smart as a whip, and very career-minded. And they're also, not encumbered with a lot of the small-minded stuff from the past and whatever, because they grew up in a different period and they're just going to own it. Own it, darling, because you have no choice in the matter. You're the boss applesauce. This is your life. Own it.
Definitely.
I know that's
right. What choice do we have anyway? If we don't take possession and, so-called own our own lives, who are we going to turn it over to, Charlie? It's just, it's our responsibility in life. You have to take responsibility for your own life. You have to do. And I think the girls have been absolutely superb about that.
wow.
Actually, I'm going to throw it out there. Any thoughts on Miss Caitlyn Jenner?
I think that Caitlyn Jenner, the attention that she's gotten, so much lightning crashing around Caitlyn Jenner because of the celebrity and so on and so forth, it can't be bad. I mean, the fact that Caitlyn Jenner has shown so much interest in the community, been so supportive toward the community, I think it's superb. I don't know Caitlyn Jenner any more than, anybody else. Just the fact that, she's a celebrity and I know about her in that capacity. But I think that, what she has done has certainly helped a lot to put the whole transgender issue on the map. And it's a very important thing to do that because you don't have citizenship.
Well, then I would have to ask you then, because I would think, because it's an ironic statement actually that you just made, because I look at films like Queen as being such a pivotal step in the direction for the trans community around visibility. And so to hear you kind of say, Caitlyn has shed a spotlight on the community, it almost seems challenging, because I've heard that very much from other folks as well, that feel that Caitlyn is bringing a lot of attention to the trans community, where I feel kind of like films like The Queen actually opened up those gates. What do you think?
Well, there's a very big difference in the audience that the Queen reached and what Caitlyn Jenner can reach. Caitlyn Jenner reaches more people in a minute than the Queen has reached in 50 years. So it's the power of reach. Caitlyn Jenner's gotten international attention instantly. That's one of the things that fame and money can accomplish for you. Well, what Caitlyn Jenner has had to say, the way that Caitlyn Jenner has negotiated her exposure and stuff, I think is very praiseworthy. This seems to me to be a very good girl. I think. I certainly hope so. I certainly hope that she represents herself, and I have no reason to think otherwise.
No, and she's definitely helpful for the community at this point. Definitely looking forward.
I think definitely. Just the attention alone, just the fact that you put it in.
She's got some work to do still, but she definitely is helpful for the community.
Exactly. Hello. Exactly.
Definitely. Let's bring it back to Izzy here.
I actually wanted to jump to another part real quick, because I mentioned it earlier. The book, Gay New York. Have you read it?
I have done, yes.
Right. In your experience, how did you find the book to have a reaction on the community at your time when the book came out?
Well, with any of this stuff, it's better to have it illuminated in the public space and in the closet. that's a big step in the right direction. And I think that, how they go about doing it, well,